Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. When I was 5, my grandmother severed my ties with my birth parents for a mere $300. Over 2 decades later, they learned I had invested $3 million in transforming her old home into a luxurious villa. This news pushed them over the edge. During my mother's pregnancy, the village's barefoot doctor predicted a boy. My grandmother, overjoyed, rewarded him with a $10 red envelope and ensured my mother received the best care. A rare privilege. While other families reserved eggs for men and children, my mother enjoyed one daily. The village wives envied her fortunate situation. However, the moment I was born and my grandmother saw a girl wrapped in the blanket, her expression turned dark. She reclaimed the milk and eggs intended for my mother, marched back to the doctor, and demanded her envelope back. The day my parents brought me home, whispers filled the air as neighbors gathered at our door. Mom wept openly while Dad sat silently on the doorstep, chain smoking. Grandma entered with a stern face and sneered. "Crying? You have the nerve. Useless as you are, you can't even produce a son. Must be my bad luck marrying this jinx into the family." Dad was upset. "If this doesn't work out, we'll have another. We need a boy. What else am I supposed to do?" Mom pleaded. "I promise I'll give you a son. If you don't," Dad threatened, "I'm fine with divorcing you for someone who can." In the 90s, with strict family planning enforced, my parents were desperate. As soon as Mom recovered from childbirth, they would try again for a boy, hiding away whenever she was pregnant. This cycle lasted 5 years. Finally, they had my brother. Mom carried him home, beaming, and paraded him around the village. Meanwhile, I subsisted on meager and infrequent rice soup. To them, having a son was paramount. To my grandmother, I was a financial burden who could have been abandoned at birth. Physical punishment was commonplace. Grandma had a volatile temper and a booming voice, while my focus remained on my next meal. 5, it was time for school. However, they had exhausted their savings trying for a boy and refused to pay for my education. After much deliberation, they decided to marry me off as a child bride to save on food expenses and receive a $300 bride price. My grandmother, upon learning of their plan, scolded my mother fiercely. "A beautiful little girl sent off to be ruined? Is that how I raised you?" Mom argued. "It's family business, none of your concern. Our savings are gone trying for a boy." Mom pleaded, holding my brother. "Besides, they promised to treat Anna well. Don't you worry. If you won't keep on you, then I will." Grandma slammed her fist on the table and took me away. "You said it, Mom." Mom shouted after us. "And this child is no longer ours." I later learned that Grandma, realizing they had depleted their funds trying for a boy, secretly sold her silver bangles to raise over $300. The journey to Grandma's house took us across a small river. She offered to carry me, but I insisted on walking, clutching her callous hand tightly. I felt safe like never before. My aunt's face fell when she saw us. Grandma patted my shoulder and introduced me. "This is your aunt, say hello." "Auntie," I chirped. She frowned, rubbing her belly, and scolded. "Not so loud. What if you scare my son? If a little noise bothers him, he doesn't deserve to be the grandson of mine." Grandma snapped, ignoring my aunt's pale face. Soon, commotion erupted outside. Curious, I peeked out, but Grandma pulled me back. "Ignore that, she's always like this. This house isn't hers to rule. You'll be safe here, sweetheart. What's your name?" At home, even the nickname girl was rare. More often, they called me Money Waster. Grandma spat, shameful. "No proper name for such a big child. From now on, you'll be Anna." "How does that sound?" I whispered, smiling. "Anna." Then I ran into Grandma's embrace, joyful. "Thank you, Grandma. I love the name Anna." "That's wonderful to hear," she said, gently patting my head. I inhaled her soapy scent, and it felt surreal. That evening, when my uncle returned from work and learned the situation, he had mixed feelings. Though Grandma hadn't consulted them before bringing me, he knew he could support another child with his factory job. It wasn't a financial burden, so he agreed. My aunt's face darkened when my uncle consented to keep me. She dragged him into their room. Even with a wall between us, her voice was loud and clear. "Are you crazy? Raising a child isn't like keeping a pet. You have to feed, clothe, and educate her. Too much money to throw around. You want us to starve. Will you stop? Uncle pleaded. If you don't want this child, just say it. I'll go to the hospital tomorrow and get rid of it. No point bringing them into the world to suffer. I didn't mean it like that. Grandma sat there, pale and silent. I cautiously walked over and tugged at her sleeve. Grandma, can you send me back? If I send you back, your real mother will simply hand you over to that fool's family to be a child bride. Do you want that? But Aunt and Uncle. Don't worry, Grandma won't send you back, she reassured me, patting my shoulder. My uncle got kicked out of the house by my aunt. He came over to Grandma sighing. Mom, don't take my wife's words to heart. Grandma waved her hand, stopping his excuses. I know why she's upset, but you can't just sit by and let Anna be a child bride to a fool. Think about our family's reputation. Don't worry, worst comes to worst, I'll find more work. I won't let this child become a burden for you too. Mom, that's not what I meant. Don't be mad. I'll talk to her more. Anna, don't blame your aunt. She's just like that. Be sensible, help her out more. Settle in, Uncle said, gently patting my head. Taking my uncle's advice, I started doing most of the household chores. Grandma even traveled to town to buy a silver bracelet for my unborn little brother, hoping it would soften my aunt's attitude towards me. My aunt was less angry after receiving the bracelet, though she still grumbled. At least she stopped constantly threatening to kick me out at the dinner table. As always, I watched. I had my aunt closely to see if I could grab any food. My aunt rolled her eyes at me. Why are you watching me? Is there food on my face? Just grab what you want. You think I'm a tiger that'll eat you? Don't make it seem like I'm mistreating you, like I'm starving you while you do all the chores. I shook my head hard, munching down my food. Finally easing up a bit, my aunt said as I cleared the table, Anna, it's not that I'm hard on you. You know, with me being so pregnant, it's not convenient. You need to help around the house more. You're helping your uncle, your grandma, and your future little brother. Okay, got it, Aunt. I don't mind. And I meant it. Even though my aunt didn't like me, I had food, clothes, and school. It was enough for me. A few months later, my aunt had a baby boy, and my uncle named him David. Back then, in the countryside, all families worked a few acres of farmland. My uncle had taken over my grandpa's job as a foreman in a small factory, so the family was doing all right. My brother got to drink formula after weaning. Seeing me eyeing the formula in the bottle, Grandma secretly made me a cup when my aunt wasn't home. It had a faint sweet taste, truly delicious. After my brother was born, besides helping out with chores, I also looked after him when my aunt and grandma were busy. Occasionally, my aunt would sarcastically say, "He came from my belly but acts closer to you like a traitor." In 4th grade, I won first prize in a school essay competition and was awarded $10. I rushed home eager to share the good news, but as soon as I walked in, I saw my aunt sitting there with a sour face. When she saw me, she banged the table. "Where's the $10 I left on the table this morning?" I shook my head. "Aunt, what money?" "I don't know." My aunt stood up fast, pointing at me. "Don't play dumb. It was just the 3 of us at home. If you didn't take it, did it grow legs and walk off?" Tears welled up. I shook my head hard. "Aunt, I swear I didn't take it." "Yeah, I've been feeding you for years, and you repay me by stealing." She dumped out my backpack and there it was, the $10 right in the middle. My heart sank. I was done for. My aunt picked it up, yelling, "You still deny it? What's this then? Stealing at your age? You won't amount to anything good, will you? Am I not feeding or clothing you?" "Aunt, no, it's not like that. The money is my competition prize." Blinded by anger, she didn't believe me. She grabbed a broom and began hitting me. I stayed silent, enduring the pain. Her blows got heavier, her words more hurtful. "Just because your grandma spoils you, you think you can act out? You're unwanted, a burden, and when your grandma's gone, you're out of here."
I shoved here.
"You're lying. I'm not a burden. Don't curse Grandma." Shocked by my defiance, she slapped me hard. "How dare you push me? Stealing money so young? You're just trouble. Get out now." I ran out. My aunt fumed. "I've given you food and shelter, and this is how you repay me? It makes me so angry." I didn't know where to go. I felt lost, with nowhere truly for me. I was brought in and I tried sneaking back. Mom, cuddling my brother, laughed until she saw me. Her smile froze. What are you doing here? I told you you're not part of us anymore. Don't think you can come back, got it? She saw my tear-swollen eyes and sighed. Go back with Grandma. I'm lying on the railroad tracks, imagining I have parents who love me. They'd hug me when I'm sad and laugh with me when I'm happy, just like in the books. In the distance, the sound of a train whistle snaps me back to reality. Maybe this is it, it's all over. I just hope that in my next life, I'll meet parents who love me. I slowly close my eyes but feel someone yanking me up. It's my uncle. He pulls me away from the tracks, visibly shaken. His face is stern, and he doesn't say a word as he carries me back home on his shoulder. As we near the house, I hear Grandma angrily yelling. I was only away visiting family for a few days, and you kicked Anya out. What were you thinking? My aunt, feeling indignant, snaps back. Do you know what she's done? You can't just kick Anna out, she's your niece. Grandma argued as my uncle, carrying me, reaches the door, looking at my aunt with clear disapproval. My aunt sees neither Grandma nor uncle siding with her and gets agitated. Oh, so you're teaming up against the outsider, huh? I'm telling you I want her gone. She steals money and fights. Keeping her here is trouble. Grandma, I really didn't steal any money. I say weakly, my voice already hoarse. Really? The money turned up in your backpack, and you still deny it. My aunt shouts, pointing angrily at me. Just then, David wanders out from the house, having heard the commotion. He hands me a crumpled piece of paper, which I unfold to find a fresh $10 bill. Finally, everyone understands where the missing money went. My aunt's face falls when she sees the bill in my hand. Grandma says coldly, "So this, Emily, is what you call honest stealing? Accusing without any proof? Shame on you." As the elder, even if she didn't steal, she hits someone. I'm just trying to discipline her. Emily, how much work has Anna done for you? How many times have you yelled at her? If she's pushed to the edge, do you think she'd act like this? Grandma says, holding David with one hand and storming inside with the other. Once she finds out I had thoughts of ending it, Grandma pulls me aside and gives me a hard scolding. It's the stupidest thing in the world, taking your life. If you ever even think of it again, I'll break your legs. She scolds, anger and frustration all mixed in. I nod hard, promising not to. On the way back, Uncle tells me, Anna, the world can be really harsh sometimes, but no matter how tough it gets, you have to face it. You can't just run away from setbacks. Can you promise me, Anya? Promise me you'll be strong and resilient. Later that evening, my aunt comes into my room holding a cup of hot milk. She's heard from. I feel fierce despite being so young and looking awkward. She apologizes for the day's events, promising not to accuse me without reason or scold me all day. I sit there with my head down, still stubbornly silent. Grandma interjects. Anna, did you hear what your aunt said? I nod. This is your home, and no matter what happens, you cannot just leave. If you run away again, Grandma will break your legs for real. Understand? Yes, Grandma, I'll listen. Auntie, I'm sorry I pushed you earlier. My aunt smiles slightly. No, Auntie doesn't blame you at all. Don't take my words to heart. I often just shoot my mouth off without thinking. You mustn't take it seriously, okay? My aunt sticks to her promise, not scolding me out of the blue anymore. Though if I mess up, she still gives me an earful with that loud voice of hers. But I'm no longer worried about being shut out by my aunt, because I've seen how she reacts when David messes up. She's even harsher with him. In my 3rd year of middle school, something big happened at home. My uncle's factory was doing poorly, and a lot of people were getting laid off. Every night, Uncle came home looking stressed. He knew he'd be out of a job soon. During this time, my aunt was on edge and would scold me and David at the drop of a hat. Not long after, Uncle finally got the notice that he was laid off. Hearing this, my aunt practically crumbled to the floor. How are we supposed to live now? There are 5 of us to feed, clothe, and 2 kids to send to school. Where's the money going to come from? Uncle sat smoking while Grandma quietly went to the kitchen to make dinner. The yard was filled with my aunt's cries about all the hardships she had endured. As we sat around the dinner table, only David, blissfully unaware, was eating heartily. Grandma, noticing the gloomy silence, put a fried egg in my bowl. Eat. After you're done, help your brother with his homework. I looked at the egg. Its golden color was tempting, but I had no appetite. My aunt snorted sarcastically. Yes, eat up. Who knows where the next meal will come from after this one? After this, Grandma gave her a sharp look. Stop saying nonsense in front of the kids. Am I wrong, Mom? Your son lost his job. Do I really need to explain that? How are we going to survive just living off this tiny plot of land to feed 5 people? Do you think that's realistic? My aunt said eventually, standing up to almost shout. And on top of living expenses, kids need schooling, don't they? David just started elementary school. And Anna's about to take her exams. Everything costs money, doesn't it? Enough. Don't argue in front of the kids. I'll find a way with the money. Let's just eat. My aunt pulled her arm away, her face flushed with anger. You have to ask yourself, since the day we got married, have I ever done anything to let you down? I do your laundry, cook, have kids, take care of this whole family, and even look after your niece. Do you think it's easy for me? You promised me before we got married that you would let me live a good life, but look at us now. My aunt started crying as she talked, and my uncle quickly went over to comfort her. David and I just sat there silently, wishing we could disappear into the cracks. Grandma watched everything without saying a word and quietly went back into the house. After a while, she returned with a small rosewood box. Son, take this and pawn it for some money, and take this money too, she said. Uncle and Aunt exchanged a look when they saw the box, their faces changing. Mom, he started, but Grandma cut him off. Just take it. It's my fault for not being able to help more. Inside the box were some silver pieces that Grandma's mother had left her, which she often took out to polish and cherish. Uncle felt guilty but accepted it anyway. We lived a frugal life, saving whenever possible. The meaty dishes that used to be on the table were now just leafy greens. Yet David and I still had an egg to eat each day. I told Aunt that I was old enough and could skip my egg to save money. Aunt shot me a glare. Eat it if you're given it. We're not so poor that we can't afford eggs. Do you want your uncle and grandma to hear that I'm withholding food from you? Do you want them to scold me? Are you trying to get me in trouble? Okay, sometimes Aunt is a bit harsh but still kind-hearted. Before I knew it, it was time for the high school entrance exams. I did well and got into the best school in the county. Uncle was happy and went to town to buy a pound of ribs and a small cake to celebrate. Aunt saw the cake and gave him a scolding. I told you to buy ribs, not cake. Are you itching for a scolding? It's just a small cake because I'm happy for Anya getting into high school, and it's not expensive. I kept glancing at the cake during dinner. Staring won't make it walk into your mouth. Eat your dinner first, then you can have cake. Even though the cake was tiny with just a little slice for each of us, and the icing was overly sweet, it was still the most delicious thing I had tasted. A few days later, after working in the fields, my grandma, aunt, and I caught sight of my mom. She forced a smile when she saw me and said, Anna, wow, you've grown up so much. Grandma gave a cold huff. Say what you came to say and don't pull her around. Anna's been working all day and needs a rest. Mom seemed a little intimidated by her mother and hesitated. Ma, I came when I heard about my brother losing his job. I wanted to see how you're doing. Things must be tough now, right? I kept my lips sealed, but Aunt was visibly irked. I think you're just rubbing salt in the wound. What are you talking about? I'm here to offer advice. Anna just graduated middle school and could start working. Peter from our village mentioned taking people to work at the factory, earning around $1,000 a month. If I could start earning, then maybe. Aunt's eyes lit up, but Grandma firmly objected. No work for her. Anna will be going to college. I won't allow it. Mom tried to persuade her. Ma, do you really want Anya to go to college? That's so expensive, and with my brother out of work, how will you manage? I'm just looking out for you, sis. Mom said, turning to my Aunt Anna. Should repay you, right? If Anya goes to work with Peter, there's a finder's fee of $500. Plus, Peter seems like a decent guy. If they end up together, it would be a good thing. Don't hesitate, seeing Aunt's tempted expression. Despite the hot summer, I felt a cold chill. Grandma slapped Mom hard. You're planning this for your daughter? You've got no heart, and you'll face the consequences. Mom clutched her cheek in shock. Ma, did you just hit me over that girl? Yes, I did. Trying to scheme against Anna. I'll break your legs today. Aunt rushed to hold Grandma back, causing chaos in the yard. When Uncle returned, he walked into this scene. He and Aunt managed to calm things down after hearing what led to it. Uncle angrily slapped the table. "You'd end your own daughter's future for a few $100? Have you been living these decades for nothing? Let me make it clear. Anna was bought for $300 from your family. Her household registration is now with us. You've got no say in our matters. She's still my daughter." Mom retorted loudly. Grandma snorted. "Not raising the child makes you worse than animals." The scolding from her own mother left Mom red and white with anger. Uncle waved her away. "You should leave. Visit less often. As long as Anna wants to study, I will support her, even if I have to sell everything. We don't need your kind of care." Realizing Uncle wouldn't converse anymore and Aunt had turned away, Mom awkwardly left. I glanced at Aunt, whose face was as dark as soot, saying, "We'll do whatever it takes to put a niece through school. Are you out of your mind?" Uncle sternly rebuked her. "Anna is excellent and hardworking. What right do you have to decide her future? I didn't read much and couldn't give you a good life. Now Anna has the chance to make something of herself. As parents, shouldn't we support her? Do you know how much it costs to get her through high school and college? Where will the money come from? Even if your mom's jewelry chest had 10 more boxes, it wouldn't be enough." Uncle pulled out a stack of fresh 100 yuan bills and stuffed them in my aunt's pocket. Turning to me with a grin, he said, "Anna, go to school without worry. I can afford it." Aunt stared at the 1,000 yuan and swallowed hard. "Where did you get so much cash?" "Don't worry, this money is clean. I earned it myself." After my aunt pressed him, we found out that Uncle had gone out to look for work. He stumbled upon a robbery on his way home and, without hesitation, chased after the thief. He actually managed to retrieve the stolen goods. The owner was so thankful that they offered him a pile of cash on the spot. Uncle waved it away, saying it was nothing. Seeing the person looked well off, he ventured to ask if they knew of any jobs. The owner, seeing he was big and honest, hired him right then and there. Uncle accidentally landed himself a decent job. The pay was attractive, but it required a lot of time. Aunt counted the money, tears falling despite herself. "I don't care. As long as you earn money, you can be away for 3 years or 5. She walked into the house, her sobs faintly audible. Grandma patted Uncle on the back. "Don't listen to her nonsense. Her strongest trait is just that sharp mouth of hers. If you're really away that long, she'll be the first one to miss you." "Mom." Uncle choked up. Then he went inside to comfort Aunt. Tears welled up in my eyes. I turned to Grandma with red eyes. "Grandma, I can go to school now?" Grandma stroked my hair. "Yes, Anna can continue her studies. Be good, don't cry. Study hard in high school and aim for a great college. Make your uncle and aunt proud and shut those shallow folks up." In high school, when Aunt saw me working, she'd always shoo me away from chores with, "At that time, you might as well study more. Every extra point in college entrance exams can put you way ahead of the others. Your uncle spent so much money for your schooling. You better get into college and not embarrass him." Even though she talked tough, I knew she was soft-hearted inside. The villagers loved their gossip, saying my aunt and uncle were silly for spending so much on a niece while being less attentive to their own son. Upon hearing this, Aunt fired back without hesitation, so they gradually only dared to gossip behind her back. 3 years of high school passed quickly, studying day and night. Grandma watched my chubby cheeks grow thinner with a heavy heart, and always found ways to make me delicious meals during summer breaks. However, too tense to relax, I had little effect on my health. David, on the other hand, gained quite a bit. Aunt, in a good mood, teased him. "You're only benefiting from your sister. Otherwise, where'd you get such treatment?" David laughed. "Mom, do you know there's a word for you?" "What word, Mom?" "Admit it, you're jealous of me, right? You cheeky brat, making fun of me. You want a good smack." David quickly ran outside. I fought back laughter until it hurt, and Aunt glared. "Go study, don't just sit there." "Yeah, I'll stop laughing." Waiting for college entrance exam results was nerve-wracking. Aunt kept worrying aloud about whether I'd get in or not. Grandma scolded her. "Stop talking nonsense all the time. You're just stressing the kid out." But she couldn't help it, and just like me, she didn't know the outcome. Uncle made a special trip home on the day results came out, and we all gathered around the phone as I dialed the number to check my score. Those few seconds felt like an eternity, holding our breaths. After I hung up, silence filled the room. David's small voice broke it. "Sis, did I hear right? 658 points." Uncle trembled. "Anya, call again just to be sure." Nodding, I rechecked. I really did score 658. Grandma hugged me, patting my shoulder with a relieved smile. Aunt's eyes shone smugly. "You didn't disgrace us." Within an hour, the whole village knew I scored 658, meaning I could pick from 90% of the top schools nationwide. Aunt was overjoyed, completely ignoring others' envious looks. A few days later, Mom called, saying she was glad I got into college and wanted me to visit as she had something to make up to me. Reluctantly, I agreed. I didn't expect she was just making an excuse to get me there. As soon as I arrived, she led me into a room. Sitting on the bed was a man looking me over, making me uneasy. I tried to leave, but Mom locked the door. "Anna, this is a man I found for you. Though he's older, he's caring. Trust me, I've checked. He's well off running a business. Marry him and you'll live well." Desperate, I pounded on the door. "Mom, please let me out. I don't want to get married." "Open the door." Unfazed, she said, "Get to know each other. We won't disturb you." Ignoring my pleas, the footsteps faded, leaving me slumped and defeated. The man approached with a sleazy smile on his face. Despair took over me completely. "Sis, don't be scared. I'll get you out of here." That was David's voice. I heard him bang the lock 3 times and break it open. With a hammer in hand, he charged at that man. The guy was so scared by David's look that he peed his pants right there. David gently helped me up. "Sis, are you okay? Let's go home." I was already so terrified, just numbly letting David lead me out. Mom's family, already too frightened by David's actions, didn't dare stop us. On the way back, David held my hand tightly. Good thing I followed, or who knows what those bastards would have done. When David told Grandma about what happened to me, she nearly passed out from anger. My aunt started cursing right away. Are they even human, treating their own daughter like that? Aren't they afraid of karma? We'd better not have any dealings with them anymore. She started pacing around the courtyard, then grabbed a sickle from the corner. "No, I just can't swallow this," she said. Uncle, scowling, somehow got hold of a hoe. "The child I care for so much got bullied like this. I must get them to explain themselves." Even though David just got back, it was obvious he wanted to act too. Later, David animatedly described that incredible scene in front of Grandma and me. Aunt pulled Mom's hair like crazy, yanking out a big chunk. Uncle, with red eyes, hit Dad so hard he was searching for his teeth on the ground. I heard Dad was bedridden for a whole month after that. David dealt with my blood brother and Grandma, who never treated me kindly. They smashed everything they could at Dad's house until the village head came to mediate. After that, Dad's family never dared to mess with me arbitrarily again. I chose to go to college in a city far from home. Aunt mumbled about how far it was and how hard it would be to see me. Uncle disagreed. "Don't keep trying to make decisions for the kids. Let her do what she wants and we'll just support her." "Oh, you know best, don't you?" Aunt replied, and they started bickering again. As the school term approached, watching them bicker, I felt reluctant to leave. On the day they sent me off on the train, Aunt kept advising me for a long time. Only when the train was about to leave and Grandma urged, did she finally stop? "I don't know how you have so much to say." Grandma teased Anya. "Let us know you're safe when you arrive. Call if you need anything. Don't handle it all alone, okay?" Grandma instructed. "I know, Grandma. Take care at home. I'll visit during the holidays to see you and Aunt." Watching their figures fade away, supported by the sunlight, they seemed to glow with a golden aura. I knew I was never alone. I had a loving grandma, uncle, aunt, and the mischievous David. Who could have guessed that David, usually disliked by everyone, would get into National Defense University? This made Aunt walk around the village with pride. On the day David hosted a banquet for his university admission, Uncle and Aunt set up over 100 tables for friends and family. Everyone kept praising how successful the Lin family was. They raised a niece, and in her early 20s, she already had hundreds of people under her command. Because Grandma mentioned not wanting to live in the city, the girls splurged $3 million to turn the old house into a villa. Now David is thriving, having gotten into the National Defense University. Truly proud parents sitting at the table with awkward expressions. Dad kept drinking heavily with a sullen face, while Mom wore a sheepish grin. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. She cheerfully came over to grab my hand, but I avoided her, leaving her looking awkward and rubbing her hands together with a smile. Anna, I heard Grandma's house renovation cost $3 million. Listening to her spiel, I knew what was coming. You'd make something of yourself. I'm genuinely happy for you. Back then, giving you to Grandma to raise, we had no choice, you know? Feeding your brother was already a problem for the family. When life got better, I wanted to bring you back but didn't want to affect your studies. You're my flesh and blood, we're family now. Your brother's all grown up but still not settled. Could you help him get a property in the city for a marriage proposal? It doesn't have to be big. 60 square meters will do. Listening to her nerve-wracking talk made my teeth ache with anger. How can someone be this shameless? I have a name. I'm Anna and I have nothing to do with you. Have you forgotten that Grandma paid $300 to take me in? Yes, I remember. But wasn't it a special circumstance back then? Besides, you're still our flesh and blood. She reached out to grab me, but David stepped in front of me. She's my sister. We're family, you silly child. What's with this family talk? Raising you is one gift, but birthing is also a gift. If I hadn't given birth to your sister, how could she have achieved what she does today? David clenched his fist tightly, and I quickly stopped him. Please don't give me this talk about family bonds. Selling me back then means you're no longer my parents. As for this blood bond, it only brought me pain. Why should I care about it? Aunt came over and caught some of the conversation. She immediately shielded me, glaring fiercely at Mom and shouting, "Have you no shame? When Anna was 5, you thought she was a burden and wanted to sell her for $300 to a fool from the neighboring village as a child bride. If Mom hadn't arrived in time, could Anna be who she is today? You pretended to be kind and urged her to leave school and move to the city for work just to pocket a $500 finder's fee. When she got into college, you tricked her into coming home, trying to force her to marry a man in his 50s for a dowry worth thousands. And now you're here again, shamelessly asking Anna to pay for a wedding house. Do you think she's an idiot? Or am I the idiot here? Let me tell you, Anna hasn't taken a dime from you all these years. If you keep messing with our family, you're going to regret it." I was so upset, my eyes red as I watched Aunt and David stand guard in front of me, and it was making me sad. Right then, Dad smashed a glass and angrily said, "No matter what, she's still my kid. I brought her into this world, so it's her duty to obey her old man. You dare throw your weight around in my house? You think you're something special?" My uncle sternly scolded him, holding back David, who looked ready to fight. Dad glanced up at my uncle, who was well over 6 feet and built like a linebacker, and quickly cowed, saying nothing more. My grandma stepped in, giving my mom, who looked ready to throw a fit, a cold stare. Mom froze halfway to laying on the floor dramatically. "If you keep this up, I'll write you off as my daughter and don't bother coming back."
Mom, no.
"Listen to me." But Grandma had already turned her back, unwilling to look at her. Uncle nodded in agreement. "If you bother Anna again, don't expect us to keep in touch." Mom stood there stunned, looking at me for help. "Anna, no matter what, I'm still your mom." I pulled out $300 and tossed it on the floor. "I figured it out from when you got pregnant with me until I was 5 based on those days' living costs. This should cover it. Plenty. From now on, don't bother me or my family again." Mom started to say something, but David, grinning, picked the money up. "Mom and Dad can't let money go to waste. If I find it, it's mine now." After that, Mom and her family, unable to stand everyone else's judgmental looks anymore, scurried out of the party. Aunt poked me in the head, pretending to be mad. "Why give them money? Do you have too much to spend? You know what they're like." "I know, of course I know. Don't worry, they won't dare come back. I won't give them another cent whatever I earn. It's all for you." Aunt kept a straight face but couldn't hide the joyful curve of her lips. "I don't have much to spend on you. You should treat yourself well so folks don't say I mistreat you. Uncle's work has been thriving, and his boss really appreciates him. In my 2nd year at work, he got promoted to manager, so now he doesn't have to travel as much. Aunt learned how to use a smartphone and video calls me every day, always chatting about one neighbor or another. Sis, when are you bringing your partner home? Mom's been talking about it, Even sneaked off to the town to get her eyebrows done. David's voice comes over the phone. Kids, stop making stuff up. I scold David off screen, then turn back to me with a smile. Anna, when are you all coming back? Your grandma and uncle are really looking forward to seeing you. Smiling, I reply. Aunt, we booked tickets for the day after tomorrow. We should be home by then. Hearing me, uncle moves closer. Anna, don't be stingy. Flying takes hours. Treat yourselves to some business class seats so you won't be tired. Aunt nods, agreeing. Yeah, don't save the money. Come back and have your uncle cover it. Why does sis get to sit in business class while I have to squish into a regular seat? Am I not your little treasure anymore? David whines. You're a big guy. What's a little hardship? Quit whining and go make dinner. Uncle snaps. I see Anya's the real child and I'm just the adopted one, David jokes, pretending to be upset. But uncle and aunt only focus on their chat with me, ignoring him. Ending the call, Ken, seeing my cheerful face, teases. Why so happy today? Did you win the lottery or something? I give him a playful glare and cheerfully reply. I'm going home soon, that's why. Ken wraps his arms around me. Meeting the in-laws, huh? I'm feeling a bit nervous. I lightly punch him. Who even thinks like that? He just hums, tightening his hug. I hold him close. Some people and things, even if they start on the wrong path, eventually find their way to the right one. And when that happens, no thorns are going to stop the journey forward.